right now the US currency is declining, but the US currency is still the world currency reserve, but on the way to decline. Why? There are two factors, about that. The budget deficit, the debt. Right now, the US debt about maybe $35 trillion. It means more than the US GDP. Before the World War II, the US, debt is so high. Why? Because at that time the US, need the money to finance the world. That's why it borrowed the money to finance the world. That's why the debt is so high. But after the World War II, the US cut the military spending and promote economy, and the US debt, went down even balance, until 1980. Why 1980 mark, the US mark the US debt increase a lot, because in 1980, many politicians, they promote, and expand, social benefit a lot, just like healthcare, social assistance, public assistance. When you spending more than you earning, it means budget deficit, debt. Yeah, and right now the budget deficit debt, so high. Yeah, more than 100, more than its GDP. Why the the debt, affect, the US currency reserve, in the world. Because when the other country, they look at, the US, debt, they say, oh, when you have a lot of debt, it means your financial not good. When your financial not good, it means other country don't trust your currency. It, that make the US dollar look less attractive. Yeah. And another factor like the deficit. Yeah. Look at the US, trade deficit history from 1945 until mid-70s. The US trade look so good, often, surplus or balance. Why? Because after the World War II, many countries, they were destroyed, damaged. So their producer, look so weak. Yeah. And the US, didn't affect by the war. So its manufacture, factory, produce, a lot, and, didn't have, competitive son from other country. That's why during, the period of time from 1945 in the mid-70s, the US trade, look very good. Yeah. But in the mid-70s until now, the trade deficit, getting worse. The world year was 2022, when the, trade deficit more than $1 trillion. Why trade deficit affect, the US world currency? Because when, the many country, they hold the, because trade deficit, it means foreign country, own the US debt. And when you have a lot of trade deficit for many decades, it mean your economy look weak. It means you spending more than you earning. When you spending more than you earning for many years, the result always the same. You go in bankruptcy. Yeah. So when the investor, or the foreigner, they hold the US debt, they may panic if the country, don't improve, the economy or financial future. Yeah. You look at, the Soviet Union, when the time the Soviet Union, collapsed, the Soviet Union military were still superpower, but the economic, disaster. That's why the citizen didn't judge, the US, the Soviet, government, and it collapsed. Because the economy, so weak, couldn't produce to provide the basic for the citizen. It collapsed. So right now, many, investor, they suggested that, you may invest in gold, I'm not responsible for my advice. Yeah. And they expect, the gold price may going up. The US government, don't solve the problem. Because in the US, political culture, when come to the problem, they often divide and fighting than they unite and solving. That's a big problem. So that's all for the video today. I hope you guys like the video. Please support my YouTube channel. In my YouTube channel, we talk about global politics, social topic, historical topic, economic topic, and many other topics.
Quietly buying massive tracts of farmland. Some say it's a bet on future food shortages. Others claim it's a hedge against currency decline. Whether those theories are right or not, the timing is interesting, especially as global uncertainty rises. The real strength of productive land is simple. It doesn't rely on currency value. A farm can grow crops, raise livestock, and generate income whether the dollar is strong or slipping. Food prices tend to rise with inflation, and the land producing that food often gains value even faster. And while farmland is a powerful hedge against a weakening dollar, Buffett's next asset focuses on something equally essential, but far more scalable. When a currency loses value, the prices of essential commodities rise first, and food is at the top of that list. Wheat, corn, soybeans, beef, and timber don't vanish just because the dollar dips. In fact, they become more valuable in nominal terms, reflecting the reduced purchasing power of money. This is why productive farmland often outperforms other assets during periods of inflation or currency weakness. It produces something the world cannot go without: calories, fiber, fuel, and those outputs gain value automatically when prices rise. It's not speculation, it's the arithmetic of survival. Global demand pressures amplify the effect. Population growth, shifting diets, and climate-related disruptions mean the land that reliably produces essential commodities becomes a scarce and highly sought-after resource. As a result, farmland's market value climbs even as paper money loses purchasing power. Investors who own productive land are effectively holding a direct claim on the real economy. The more indispensable the production, the more resilient the asset. And while farmland secures wealth through the bounty of the soil, not all safe assets require dirt beneath your feet. The next category protects wealth in an entirely different way, yet just as effectively. Some assets generate value quietly without flashy headlines, and honestly, few do it better than critical infrastructure. Railroads, pipelines, electric grids, and nationwide communication towers are the backbone of modern commerce. Every shipment, every kilowatt, every data packet depends on them. They are, in effect, the toll booths of the economy. What makes them extraordinary as a hedge against a weakening dollar is that they are almost impossible to replicate. Building a transcontinental railroad, a nationwide pipeline, or a fully connected power grid from scratch is unimaginably expensive, heavily regulated, and legally complex. No competitor can simply copy it overnight. That creates a durable monopoly and immense pricing power. Speculation has been growing quietly in financial circles about who truly controls these assets and how shifts in policy or ownership could impact national security and economic resilience. Whether it's a concern over foreign investment, regulatory changes, or consolidation, these discussions underscore how critical infrastructure is both valuable and sensitive. Even better, these assets adjust automatically during inflation. The cost to replace physical networks rises with prices, while regulated tariffs or service fees often scale upward, protecting cash flow and asset value. Owning infrastructure is like owning the arteries of the economy, essential, resilient, and capable of thriving even as currency values fluctuate. And while infrastructure secures wealth through its indispensability, the next asset expands protection beyond U.S. borders, tapping into the global economy. One of the most underappreciated aspects of critical infrastructure is how its revenue often automatically adjusts with inflation. Utilities, pipelines, railroads, and other essential networks frequently operate under regulated frameworks or long-term contracts that allow them to raise fees as costs increase. In simple terms, when inflation rises, they don't suffer, they charge more. Electricity rates, tolls on pipelines, or freight fees on rail lines can climb alongside the general rise in prices, preserving profitability and protecting investors from the eroding power of a weak dollar. This is why infrastructure isn't just a stable asset, it's a naturally hedged asset. It thrives when others falter. Its cash flows remain predictable, its value rises with replacement costs, and it provides a tangible anchor in an uncertain economic sea. But there's a bigger picture to consider. What if the threat isn't confined to the United States? What if the world is quietly shifting toward a more multipolar currency system, where reliance on the dollar slowly diminishes? To protect wealth in this evolving landscape, investors need to think globally. That's where foreign assets and currency diversification become critical, the next defensive asset in Buffett's playbook. Up to this point, we've focused on assets rooted in the United States, but Buffett's strategy doesn't stop at national borders. One of the most powerful hedges against a weakening dollar is owning productive assets abroad, companies that earn revenue in stronger or more stable foreign currencies. Diversification isn't about abandoning the United States, it's about reducing concentrated risk. If all your wealth is tied to the dollar, a severe decline in its value would hit you disproportionately. But foreign assets generate real earnings independent of the United States currency, giving you a natural buffer. There's been quiet speculation in financial circles that global trade patterns are gradually shifting. Some analysts claim more contracts are being settled in euros, yuan, or yen, signaling that the dollar may gradually lose its near-exclusive role as the world's reserve currency. Whether this happens overnight or unfolds slowly over decades, the implications are clear. Currency exposure matters. When you own companies based in Switzerland, Japan, or Germany, your claim is on real earnings denominated in foreign money. If the dollar weakens against those currencies, the value of those earnings rises automatically when converted back into dollars. You get a dual advantage: growth from the company itself, plus a hedge through currency appreciation. This approach isn't speculation or gambling on foreign markets. It's rational risk management, extending Buffett's principle of owning productive assets into a global context. And while foreign assets protect against currency risk, the final defensive asset is the most personal and portable of all. There's growing chatter in financial circles about the long-term stability of the United States dollar. Some speculate that initiatives by BRICS countries, experiments with central bank digital currencies, and rising geopolitical tensions could gradually shift global reliance away from the dollar. It's important to stress These are rumors and observations, not certainties. No one knows how quickly, or even if, such shifts will materialize. But the whispers are enough to make a careful investor think about diversification beyond traditional dollar-denominated assets. The idea is simple. The more alternative currencies gain traction in trade and finance, the greater the potential impact on dollar-based investments. If these trends continue, even a small erosion of dollar dominance could amplify the importance of holding productive, income-generating assets outside the United States. Yet even as you diversify globally, there's one form of wealth protection that cannot be outsourced, bought, or regulated. It doesn't rely on infrastructure, farmland, or foreign currencies. It's entirely in your control, portable, adaptable, and universally valuable. Because when everything else is uncertain, this asset remains resilient. The next and final category in Buffett's defensive playbook is human capital, your own skills, knowledge, and earning power. The final and arguably most powerful asset in Buffett's defensive playbook isn't something you can list on a balance sheet, buy with a broker, or hold in a vault. It's you, your skills, knowledge, and capacity to create value. Human capital is uniquely resilient because it adapts to any economic or currency environment. A talented doctor, engineer, software developer, or farmer doesn't suddenly lose worth if the dollar declines. Their expertise, problem-solving ability, and ability to produce tangible results remain in high demand, no matter what currency is used to pay them. Investing in human capital means continuously learning, mastering your craft, and expanding your problem-solving toolkit. It's about building a professional network, developing specialized knowledge, and creating services or products that people genuinely need. Unlike paper assets, your skills cannot be inflated away or devalued by monetary policy. Some say human capital is the real currency of the future. In a world dominated by financial speculation and fleeting digital tokens, the ability to generate meaningful, tangible value may be the most portable, secure, and inflation-resistant asset anyone can hold. When combined with moat businesses, productive land, critical infrastructure, and diversified foreign holdings, investing in yourself ensures you're prepared for virtually any financial scenario, from moderate inflation to a deep, sustained dollar decline. In the end, it's not about fear. It's about control, adaptability, and ownership of what truly produces value. The thread that ties all 5 of these defensive assets together is simple but profound: ownership. Buffett doesn't just buy stocks, land, or infrastructure. He buys pieces of the productive engine of the economy. He invests in assets that create value, generate cash flow, and adapt to changing circumstances. Whether it's a wide moat company, fertile farmland, critical infrastructure, foreign earnings, or the skills within your own mind, the principle is the same. Focus on what produces, not on what merely stores nominal currency. These are rational, enduring assets, and they are your shield against uncertainty. This philosophy isn't about panic. It's about preparation. Calm, deliberate, and forward-looking decisions can position you to benefit from changes in currency value rather than be victimized by them. It's a mindset that survives every economic storm because it is rooted in real, tangible, and adaptable sources of wealth. So ask yourself, are you simply holding cash, hoping for stability, or are you actively owning the future, the businesses, land, infrastructure, foreign assets, and skills that will continue producing value regardless of what happens to the dollar? Because in the long run, it's not fear that secures wealth, it's the ownership